Hi, wise soul. I'm Patience McGrain, and this is Patience in the Mourning. Today, I want to talk about something that lives in the shadows of grief. It's why sex and intense intimacy can feel like the safest place in the world after traumatic loss. And then I want to talk about how that biology can both comfort us and quietly hijack our healing. I'm not speaking from theory. I'm a widow who found love early after the death of my domestic partner and father to my then young children. In hindsight, I turned to love and sex 16 years prior after the homicide of my 18-year-old brother. In both cases, I leaned hard into sexual connection, which felt like magical love that helped me feel anchored, safe, and cherished. Let's talk about what was really happening inside my brain and my body, and possibly yours if you're feeling this way as well. Sexual desire isn't just about being horny, right? It's a whole body, full on brain response. And in our brain, dopamine is the chemical that drives the pursuit and reward. So it's this signal that's telling us if I do this, this will make me feel better. Go out and get it because you'll feel better. And then oxytocin is this bonding hormone. It's the one that makes us feel close to someone, safe, to feel loved. During sexual arousal and orgasm, dopamine surges, and then oxytocin floods our systems. Research shows that oxytocin rises during sexual arousal and orgasm, and this happens both in men and women. And it's deeply tied to social attachment and sexual behavior. So when we're grieving and we reach for connection that's intimate and for sex, our biology is reaching for dopamine. It's reaching for relief. And oxytocin, because we want to feel connected, because we feel isolated, we don't feel safe. And oxytocin can bring our bodies this feeling of connection and safety. And dopamine, this feeling of relief from the pain that we're coping with. Now, add traumatic loss. So, grief and trauma crank up our stress hormones like cortisol, and then they often lower our mood chemicals like serotonin. They can disrupt the sex hormones as well, like testosterone and estrogen, leaving some people really numb and other people really desperate for any spark of aliveness. So you lose your partner's body, their touch, their smell, the way you kind of breathe together and live together. And that means your oxytocin and dopamine systems kind of lose their main source of bonding and reward. So your brain is suddenly starved for what used to come just so easily and just part of ordinary life. So when we experience this emotional pain, our brains are seeking ways to alleviate that pain. And sexual activity can give this relief from the pain and the numbness, as well as create this feeling of connection and reduce our feelings of isolation. This is what we've talked about before was widow's fire. It's this intense craving for sex after bereavement. And it is a natural phenomenon. One study found that about 63% of widows and widowers feel widow's fire within 6 months after the death of their partner. And this is really normal if you're feeling this. So your body isn't betraying you. It's not moved on from grief. It hasn't moved on from the person that you loved and lost. Your body, your system is in survival mode and it's trying to survive. So I invite you to be kind. Be very kind to your body and yourself and to be safe. This was my reality. After my brother's homicide, I turned to intense sexual intimacy that I confused with safety and love. The relationship felt like I was being seen, valued, and in a way just really rescued from the trauma and the pain. Unfortunately, it quietly hijacked my healing and my own life path. When the relationship crumbled, I was left with another layer of confusion, trauma, and loss. Many years later, shortly after my domestic partner was paralyzed from a cancerous tumor, we were working to get him walking again. I fell in love. I wasn't searching for a new relationship. However, amidst the chaos, a divorced father pursued me and he wanted physical connection fast. And my nervous system really latched onto him because I was so starved and deprived. Being with this person just felt so peaceful and magical. He distracted me from the overwhelm, my fear, the grief, and the pain in my life. About a month after or so after the death of my domestic partner, my widow's fire ignited like a eucalyptus forest fire. And sex with this new love became my only kind of regulator and my anchor. Biologically, sex was delivering the dopamine, the oxytocin, and the feel good endorphins that it promises to. These were brief breaks from my terror and sorrow, offering a powerful illusion of being deeply seen, safe, and cherished. Emotionally, though, it meant I was letting my healing, my grief, and my identity be mapped onto another person's body, their attention, their values, and what they wanted for their life. This other person wasn't able or understanding or interested in doing the work to help me and my children truly heal in relationship with him. This created more layers of trauma and loss, as well as confusion around my identity and my future. That, wise one, is the hijack. So you might be wondering, is sex after loss bad? No. Well, then is it just a neutral thing? No. Sex after loss is powerful. There are benefits because it can relieve pain and numbness, can create some real connection with someone who's really ready to have a real connection with you and has the skill, has the depth for it. And for some, it can be really part of a healthy grieving and rebuilding a new identity in life. Remember, the other person has to be ready, as well as you, to actually do the work to create that. The cost, though, for sex after loss is if you use sex as your main painkiller, or sex as your main grief work and your trauma healing, these things will actually get postponed. You won't be actually working through them if sex is what you're using as your painkiller. In 1917, Sigmund Freud wrote that loss requires sort of grief work. And it's a mourning process, and it's a requirement for our future well-being. I mean, he described it as a slow and consuming process. So the grief work isn't done after a year or two or once we've moved into a new relationship with someone. It's a process that really needs our genuine attention. Our grief and trauma need, attention and care. So when we bypass it with new relationships and sex or other things to distract us, we increase our dopamine and oxytocin levels because of the relationship or whatever it is we're doing. But we're also creating a dependency, because without them or whatever it is, you will feel even more lonely, sad, or overwhelmed. So our bodies kind of have a way of knowing how to keep the relationship that we've engaged in and that we're part of. It wants to keep it because it knows if it goes away, it's going to have some more loss. It's going to be more grief. And already we are struggling to manage the first loss that we had. This can lead us to really overlooking the red flags. It can lead us to overlooking the reality of it. We can mistake intensity and great sex for love and attach to a new person in ways that don't serve our long-term values or even our children's long-term needs or well-being. So we don't have any perfect statistics on how often the first relationship after widowhood lasts. It seems to be research is focused on kind of those first 2 years and how widows or widowers are doing with the parenting and kind of how they're managing their life during that time span. But there's some patterns here. Relationships born in the fire can be lifelines, right? They can also really carry the unfinished business of our grief and can carry them and not ever get resolved. So here's the bottom line. So I want you to take away that, when you're feeling the surge of widow's fire or this need to connect with someone, remind yourself kindly, it's your biology trying to protect you. It's trying to help you. It's not proof that you're faithless or broken. It's not proof that you're ready for a new relationship or a new love, that you're ready to move on. What it is it's your biology, and biology is not our destiny. So remember, pause. Let your feet ground, feel your toes, maybe close your eyes and really kind of be with yourself and notice, what do I need? What am I feeling? What is happening? And just be kind, taking that pause, maybe taking a breath with the pause. And this 20-second pause can really help us gain some clarity of our reality and what we need to do next. And it allows us to start to choose a little more consciously instead of letting our choices come from that place of pain and anguish that we at times just feel so much of that we want to escape. If this resonates, if you've confused sexual intimacy with love in the worst seasons of your life, please know you are not alone. Your body was trying to keep you alive. If you need help navigating your grief and love after loss, message me for a free call. Remember that you, your love, your loss, your children, and your future matter. So in future videos, I'll explore a little bit about how to honor desire without letting it really hijack our healing. And for now, if you feel safe, you can share "This is me" in the comments below, and maybe share with another widowed parent or a griever who needs to know that their biology isn't their enemy. It just needs a wiser guide. This is Patience in the Mourning. You are loved, and your nervous system is not beyond redemption. May you be well.